Alright people, welcome to another video in our MITRE attack series. Today we are going to take a look at T1190, exploit public facing applications. So let's go to editing mode and let's jump over here real quick. Today we have Sunday the 14th of December and I'm going to real quick copy the text over here. That's a little more text, but a little more than last time anyways. That's okay. And then we are going to copy the ID number and the quick overview on this side. Perfect. So let's read a little bit. So why did we select this topic today? Currently you have an exploit going on, the React Java vulnerability that allows attackers to hijack your web server pretty much and execute arbitrary code. CVSS rating of 10, that's the highest vulnerability rating you can get. Yes, and this topic here, exploit public facing applications, that's exactly that. Okay, this is at least part of it. But okay, let's switch to reading mode and see what we can find here. So first of all, here on the left side, we have no sub-techniques here. The tactic, so the kill chain step, is initial access. As to be expected. Platforms are containers, ESXi, which is just a host for your virtual machines. Then infrastructure as a service, yes, this whole cloud stuff. Then you have Linux, Windows, Mac OS, as to be expected. Most often it will be Linux this time. We talk about web servers here. Windows too, Mac OS rarely. Yeah, and then network devices. In terms of the React, we talk about Linux most of the time. This technique is more general, so yeah, there is more attack vectors here. Then we have some contributors here. Don Lee, Stifel Financials. Okay, so this is an employee of Stifel Financials. Then we have Praetorian, Yossi Weizmann from Asia Defender Research Team. All right, we have people who researched this. Has been created 2018 and updated in October, so it's fresh. Let's see. Adversaries may attempt to exploit a weakness in an internet-facing host. Yeah, and that's what the thing is, internet-facing. That's the core idea here. And in our kill chain series, we touched upon a little bit lateral movement. We talked about where internet-facing devices should be located, and there is a concept of the DMZ, demilitarized zone. So whenever something is internet-facing, you gotta be careful where to put it, because it needs to be avoided that lateral movement can happen from that network zone into others. But yeah, internet facing is extremely dangerous. So the web server, this is the stuff that as an attacker you want to compromise that. Yeah. Then the weakness in the system can be software bug, and that's what it is in the current software bug, the React. We will make a dedicated video to that, because if I look at LinkedIn and also in the daily job, some people are a little bit right now headless chicken mode. Okay, they're a little bit upset. They feel like there's a huge attack launched, and whenever these vulnerabilities, heavy ones, are being discovered, there's a lot of helpless feeling in the industry. People don't really know what to do about it. They feel betrayed by, in this case, the React. That's a Meta platform product. Yeah, so there's a lot of confusion going on right now, and I would really like to show you how to deal with it. But first, let's see what MITRE recommends us. Usually their recommendations are just spot on. Yeah, then you have a temporary glitch or misconfiguration. Of course, these two things in the end, temporary glitch, I don't even know what that is. what can a temporary glitch be? So maybe if you have a transition from one state to another, so you're changing your software, you're changing your hardware, and in between that transition, there is a temporary vulnerability that can be exploited. That's what I can think about it. And obviously misconfiguration. Your admin is not necessarily a security professional, so as a result of that, there might be some misconfigurations happening. Okay, but software bug, that's the stuff that is very current right now in the news. Yeah, and let me add one moment. So React.js, so let me just give you at least the logo of that thing that you, because sometimes it's really difficult over the, here, this is how it looks like, React.js. That's the stuff that is being exploited right now. Okay, yeah, so then exploited applications are often websites, web servers. There we go, there's the web server again. So as you can see, even before the React, this is 24th of October, at that time nobody knew about React. MITRE, in their really qualitative work, almost as if they can predict these things. But it's not hard to predict. There will always be web server vulnerabilities at some point in time. What MITRE tells you is be ready for that when it happens. And our industry right now simply isn't. Okay, but can also include databases, of course, SQL injections, classic. Then standard services like SMB and SSH. I haven't seen examples for that. So the mail SSH and SMB, I don't know if this has ever been exploited, but of course at some point it will be, if it hasn't been. Then Network Device Administration Management Protocols, SMMP and Smart Install. Yes, so whatever your administrator is using can be exploited by the attacker as well. And any other system with internet accessible open sockets. And let's mark that down. So that terminology here is really good. Internet accessible open sockets. Keep an eye out for that. Don't get lost in the technical nitty-gritties. Is it a port or is it whatever? If it's some open socket that can be connected with, no matter what technology is behind, that's where the attacker can exploit. Then on ESXi infrastructure, adversaries may exploit exposed open SLP services. So unfortunately, I don't know what that is. Open SLP. Let me know in the comments if you would like me to dig into this. So as, as of now, I didn't need it, but okay. So there's one possibility, one of endless, to educate myself. I will not dig into this in that very moment, but if I read it more often, I might. Um, they may alternatively exploit exposed VMware vCenter servers. That's stuff I'm aware with. Okay, this is just a virtual machine management software. Okay, vCenter servers. This is just management of virtual machines. Yes, you can exploit those as well. Then, depending on the flaw being exploited, this may also involve exploitation for defense evasion. Those are attack techniques. Okay, so we don't mark them; they are marked already, but we those are other techniques that we might go into. Exploitation for defense evasion or exploitation for client execution. Okay. Then, if an application is hosted on cloud-based infrastructure and or is not centralized, containerized, then exploiting it may lead to compromise of the underlying instance or container. Yes, yes. So this is the EaaS stuff here. Infrastructure as a service. Obviously, if you compromise the infrastructure itself, it is possible to compromise the containers, especially if these are not encrypted properly. Usually they are though, so usually your container is secure on its own, independent of the security of the infrastructure. That's how it should be. It doesn't mean that everybody is configuring their containers in such a way. Okay, so don't expect the best case, but the best case is that the container is not compromised when your infrastructure is. Okay, that's the idea. Alright, this can allow an adversary a path to access the cloud or container APIs. And that's exactly the point. So secure those APIs with cryptographic means. And there are a lot of those possibilities to secure. Why don't we do that? Well, it's a computational overhead most of the time, and it's simply a resource, a human resource overhead. You need a guy who's configuring the systems in a secure way. And that's the lag what we have. That's the bottleneck, educated people. Then exploit container host access via escape to host. Yeah, so escape to host, that's the classic. We should look at that as well at some point. Or take advantage of weak identity and access management policies. Yes, EIM, identity access, that's a big topic in many companies. So you should have identity access management in place. For sure, that's a good way and a simple way to know what entities, what players are participating in your cybersecurity infrastructure. And once you know the participants, then you can make further steps to secure. But without identity access management, you have no clue who's even working on your infrastructure there. And if you don't know that, you can't spot anomalies. So identity access, really important topic. Okay, then adversaries may also exploit edge network infrastructure. We learned that word, edge network, so we know what that is by now. So what they mean here is firewalls. This is one part of edge network infrastructure, but this is really the stuff that is not part of the network, like your endpoints, but this is, as it says, on the edge. So this will be a router, this will be some switches, this will be the firewall, which is the most prominent example here. But they call it edge network infrastructure, fine. And related appliances, specifically targeting devices that do not support robust host-based defenses. Yes, what is a robust host-based defense? Well, that's your endpoint, your Windows machine. You can install EDR solutions on that, antivirus solutions. This is considered robust. On the server, same thing. But some appliances or some network devices, for example, a router, well, it doesn't have the computational power to install an EDR system on it. So you need to protect them in another way. There are ways to protect them, but this robust host-based defenses, yes, why break the difficult systems when you can focus the ones that cannot be IoT devices, some sensor somewhere, whenever you have OT, operational technology in place. This is the stuff where robust host-based defenses might not work, and this is the stuff where you can easily break in. Alright, then for websites and databases, the OWASP top 10 and CWE top 25, we should take a look at those for sure at some point. They are being constantly updated, but what do they do? Highlight the most common web-based vulnerabilities. Perfect. So this is the stuff that I used in my job every now and then. I cannot brag that I'm a professional of OWASP or CWE, but I know roughly what it is. And we should take a look at those. And if you are a cybersecurity professional and doing this for a living, you should be aware of that too. So let's see. But yeah, so we got now the text here. So let's jump real quick into the editing mode again, and let's take a look at the procedure. So there's a whole lot of procedures this time. That's why we are not going to. So I copy this, I remove this and this and that, and then let's simply copy some of the procedure examples like this. Yeah, it's a bit small, but don't worry, it will be bigger in a moment when we go into the reading mode. And then let me take a look. So there are much more. Yes, and then mitigation and detection. Yeah, fine. So let's get into the reading mode again. Let's do this. All right, what do we have here? So what are the groups? The G stands for group. C, I don't know, but S stands for software. C, we gotta, let me click on that C. I gotta educate myself a little bit. So what does the C stand for? And campaigns. Look at this. So I just copy that now here. See, so based on the URL, you can tell what the C stands for. So C stands for campaigns. Let me copy that just here. doesn't have to be big. So C stands for campaign. Let's press then on G, that you can see also an example for that. So G stands for group. And that's why I like MITRE text so much, because it makes sense. Okay, these people make sense. And then there's an S somewhere, usually. S, yeah, there is an S, just an example. S stands for software. Let's see how many other categories there are. But for now, C is something I see for the first time here. All right, so here we have it now. Feel free to zoom in, of course, if you want to see a little more. But let's take a look at the different procedures. They call it procedures, but what it really is attacks that happened in the past. So here we have the Agrios group. What did they do? Exploits public-facing applications for initial access to victim environments. Examples include widespread attempts to exploit, CVE. That guy, we might want to take a look at what the CVE is. And we also will take a look at this whole website. Common vulnerability and exposures. That's what CVE stands for, if I remember correctly. So it's the V is important, vulnerabilities. And the C, common, well, it has been identified, right? So obviously it is well known. Yeah, so what do we have? In 40 OS, devices and SQL injection activities. Yeah, okay, so that's good. What else do we have? APTs, some advanced persistent threats. Has used a variety of public exploits, including another CVE and another CVE. So they're talking in CVE numbers here. I would like if they added in brackets behind that just a little bit what it is all about. Okay, so because just by reading that number, there's no way to figure out what that even is. But we are going to do that just as an example. We're going to look up CVE 2018. No, let's look a more recent one. So here is 2020. Let's pick up this one. And I will copy what it is at least. So I hope MITRE receives this feedback one way or the other. If you guys are connected to them, let them know. It would be really nice if they added a little bit of a description there. So I found the CVE in detail, but that's there's NIST. There we go. This I like. All right, one moment. I'm on the website just in case you're wondering what is this guy doing. So we are going to copy that page now. Okay, like this. I'm going to like this. And the website is also well structured. I will give you the link to that. There we go. A little bit like this, so there's space. This stuff can go as well. And now we have an example for the CVE 006. Do they mention that somewhere? They don't. They need to add the title as well, like this. Okay, so this is the CVE we are talking about here. Let's put it prominently at the top. So what it is, so it is remote code execution vulnerability exists in Microsoft Exchange software when the software fails to properly handle objects in memory, aka Microsoft Exchange memory corruption vulnerability. Okay, so that stuff has been published 2020 and it has been updated like a month later. It hasn't been updated ever since. And this site is really look at this. So this site is, let me copy that. So it's well structured too, and we might dig into this as well at the CVE. Let me look if CVE what it really stands for, but there's a, well, they don't really have it. But yeah, CVE, this is common vulnerability and exposures. Yes, I just looked it up. Let me see. Let me copy that as well, like this. Okay, so this is educational stuff here, so I want you to easily be able to pick up as much as you as possible here. Yeah, so that's what it is. So one interesting thing is the authorized data publishers. That's the CISA. It's an agency, a computer infrastructure security agency. Let us take a look at what ADP stands for. Okay, so ADP. CVE. ADP stands for Authorized Data Publisher. And CISA is, don't they add somewhere what CISA stands for? With CNA. Yeah, but let's copy that as well. Let's copy that as well, what it means. There we go. Oh, we flipped it. So I don't know why it allows you to flip it. What's the point in that? But okay. Okay, so as you can see, it's a, and CISA stands for, let's Google that up as well. So CISA is a cybersecurity infrastructure agency. I found like a, and there is unfortunately here, one moment, there we go. So there is also certification from ISACA that stands for, that is CISA, right? Let me remove the MITRE tech logo here since this is not about MITRE. But there's a name conflict, unfortunately, that they produced. Yeah, so now we know what this CVE is all about. It's simply Microsoft Exchange memory corruption vulnerability. It would be really good if MITRE could add in brackets behind these numbers, at least to get an idea what it is all about. But on the other hand, they wanted to save space, right? So you don't want to load up your description field with all information. If you're really interested, like we are, so we can just go on the CVE and easily find it, right? Okay, but this is the idea. What else do we have? The Axiom group. We have read that name multiple times by now. Axiom has been observed using SQL injection to gain access to systems. Okay, SQL injection, yes, you just use the query language to interact with a database. And the thing with SQL is um, it's very difficult to distinguish between real administrator's activity and hacker's activity when it comes to SQL. It looks the same, and if it's a compromised account behind that, very difficult to catch it. Alright, the video is over 20 minutes. Let's not speed up, but let's move on a little bit. I don't want to stress your attention span too much. So let's copy first of all this page here. Let's remove everything. It's time now to talk about countermeasures, mitigations. And there are a lot of mitigations, nice. So it's not one of those, we had the whole audio screen capture last week, or this week on a Sunday, the last video is there, will be published. So there were no mitigations, but here, as it looks like, we have some. Alright, let's go to reading mode and let's take a look at that. What mitigations do exist? So application isolation and sandboxing. Yes, perfect. Application isolation will limit what other processes and systems features the exploited target can access. Yes, perfect. You do sandboxing, you put it behind a firewall, and you make sure that it has no communication except really the one that it needs. Then exploit protection, web application firewalls may be used, yes. Then traffic application, yes. So this is web application firewalls. That's for sure something that you might do because they analyze every package, every IP package that is moving. Filter network traffic. Yes, so this simply means look for malicious traffic that you would not expect. Initiating communications with attacker, attacker's ability to verify and control compromised server. Yes, so if you just have the traffic that you need, but that's difficult, okay? So how do you exactly limit the traffic in such a way that you don't hinder your real employees to do their job? So this is a little bit of a task, a research task as well. Then limit access to resources over network. Yeah, resource over network. That's when you are in home office, let's say, and via VPN you want to access something, or maybe there's even over the website there is a login uh, form, and then you can access resources. Yes, you need to limit that. What does it say? Publicly exposed services. Exactly. Try to avoid that because the publicly exposed service, that's the stuff that the attacker will first target always. Then network segmentation, of course, and here's the DMZ topic that I mentioned before. So I'm not surprised that MITRE is thinking about stuff like that. These guys are professionals. So put your stuff that is publicly accessible, publicly exposed service here. Put that in the DMZ. Don't have that sitting in a, oh, I can't, there we go. Don't have the, oh wait, I have a little bit of a publicly exposed service. Yeah, so these publicly exposed service, put them in the DMZ, not in the office network or in another network where lateral movement can happen. Okay, so if it's sitting in the DMZ and somebody exploits that, the damage is limited. Okay, you can shut down your DMZ at any moment. Yes. And the other crucial services of your company will still be functioning. I mean, the website will be down for some time, but that's not a big damage if people cannot access your website. So what? Your key value chain is still intact. If the danger stays in the DMZ. Then use least privilege for service accounts will limit what permissions the exploited process gets on the rest of the system. Yes, least privilege. Update software. Yes, that's is called patch management as well. Oh, and they call it patch management here. Great. Patch management. Okay, so patch your systems. The attacker has only very limited time to hack you after. And let's jump back to the page before with the CVE. So look, the stuff is published on a certain date. This is where all the hackers in the world get to know the vulnerability. Well, this is where when you get to know it too. So then you can close it. And these authorized data publishers, what do? They first approach Microsoft, the vendor, and give them a time to fix the bug. The moment when it is published here, the vendor ideally has already a patch in place and all is good. But obviously, the ADP needs to put some pressure on the vendor because they need to publish that bug in a controlled way. And they do it at some point, but your job in a company as an administrator is to patch your system as soon as possible after you have get the notification here. Yes, and that's patch management. That's what saves you a lot of damage. And then vulnerability scanning. Obviously, scan your system. So in one of our videos before, we listed down the scanners, Nessus and Tenable.io and Rapid7. So you have a lot of vulnerability scanners out there. Yes, use them. Okay, and have a high coverage on them. All right, so we covered the mitigations on one page. Now let's jump to the detection strategy now. We are going to do this, we're going to do that, this, and this will fit nicely on one page as well. So detection strategy, just in case this might be your first video on this channel. So here it is about the SecOps. So you might have a security operations center in place, and these guys, they need to know what to look out for. And this is what they have to look out for. Let's take a look what we have here. So they have always these analytic ID numbers. We're not going into this detail here. We keep it on a pretty high level, but just be aware that if you work in a SOC, there's a pretty good level of detail that you can dig into. And you don't need to be creative yourself anymore to detect these things. So here, exploit public-facing application, multi-signal correlation. request, error, post-exploit process, egress. Okay, so let's see. So adversary sends crafted HTTP input to internet-facing app. Okay, it sends something, and then you have abnormal request, some elevation methods, server processes spawns a shell, yes, and then optional outbound callback from host container. Okay. So these numbers, they just try to give you the pattern here. Again, here, suspicious request, spike of 5xx or WAF blocks. Then a web server interpreter again spawns something, and again outbound. So you see the same logic again and again and again. Suspicious call, elevate writes, spawn a shell, and then call back. So this is what you have to look out for as a SOC analyst. I think on a high level this is good enough for now. Also, in this I don't have access to Splunk right now to demonstrate you. We might do that at some point, but without demonstration there's no point digging deeper into this right here. Just know it exists, and that's valuable resources for the SOC. And then let's take a look at the references. So there are a whole lot of references again. So like this, I hope this is big enough, but like this. Let's go into reading mode again. And so we have here 127 references in total. Take a look at the first ones. So again, you have here National Vulnerability Database. That's something that I would like to dig into, because the website we looked is something different. So there's a National Vulnerability Database. Interesting. Then you have the CIS. Yes, CIS controls. Those are very US CERT, Emergency Response Team. So Cyber Emergency Response Team, that's US CERT. OWASP, we have here NSA, CISA, FBI. So they have some Russian conspiracies and some going on here, or some 2021, yes, so they have some Russian attacks uncovered. Not conspiracy necessarily, but sometimes those are conspiracies too. Then again, this Mystic team, interesting. And again, this is also Mystic, right? Yeah. CISA, SOC Raider, Kisa. We have seen this last time. I need to check those ones out because I don't know who Kisa is, but it might be another agency, might be not. We gotta check this out. And then, yeah, you have a DF, Digital Forensic Incident Response. That's what DFIR stands for. And yeah, they do some forensics checkpoint as well. So here I see some researchers that are familiar to me. These two catch my eye this time, and we will at a later point dig into them. Let me know in the comments if you see a source here that is interesting. And also, we didn't cover them all. I mean, roughly half of them we have on the screen here. But yeah, so I think we are through with this video. We got a little bit of an idea what this is all about. So here, exploit public facing application. We have an overview what it is. We know where to locate it in the kill chain. We have a good example which is just fresh. Okay, we have the 14th of December right now. It got published at the beginning of December, 5th or so. It's really fresh, like 2 or 3 weeks old. Yeah, then we know procedures. We got an overview who is doing the attacks. We learned that the G stands for groups, or the C stands for campaigns. A new ID letter here. Then we looked at one of the CVE to get an idea how these pages look like. Then we have an understanding of how to mitigate that stuff. Well, patch management, some firewalls, some services, DMZ. So make sure that you have the better practices in place here. We looked a little bit at the detection strategy. So here they have a stepwise approach, and the pattern is always the same. And we know who is researching on their topics. So I think for now this is good. We understand a little bit about the 1190 now. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next video then. Goodbye.